Okay, a new video. So today we're going to talk about Bicep again, especially one single piece of stuff, which is, if you think about it, pretty simple. I will explain it later. So it's kind of a nice tool in Bicep. It's like enums for stuff. I will show you what it is. So because it's hard to explain without showing it, let's jump into it and let's make my screen visible. Here it is. So what is this all about? So I prepped a little sample here. And this sample, let me bring this a little bit here. So it's nothing unusual. So this is just a classical main bicep, which says, okay, I will deploy something to a subscription. The only thing that you can deploy to a subscription is, or one of the, there are several things actually, but the thing that you usually deploy to a subscription is the resource group. So this deploys a resource group, and then when this resource group is deployed, it heads over to the module down there, which will deploy the actual resources into the group. So the group itself actually has just a so-called user-assigned identity. So what this is it is a managed identity, it's so-called, but from type user-assigned because we've created it, we're doing it here. So actually this is an Azure resource which points to an ownerRbacRoleId service principal. And what we can do with that now is, because we have this now in Bicep, we can give it down there in role assignment. So we can tell it in this scenario, hey, after this got deployed, this managed identity, I wanted to have certain roles in a certain scope. In this case, I wanted to have this role, whatever this is, I come to this later, on the resource group, which I deployed it to. So what this is now doing, if you're not aware what role assignments are doing, a role assignment now says, okay, you have this identity, and yes, thankfully, we have one that we can define with Bicep. Okay, so because normally with Bicep, you cannot just refer in default Bicep to things that are living in ownerRbacRoleId, formerly known as Azure ID, which, for instance, are app registrations or so-called service principals. You cannot have them deployed with Bicep by default. There is something coming up, a new video is coming up on that, but even with this, so the thing is Microsoft Graph Access, even with this, you have limited access. This is a nice thing. And I can show you later maybe how you could use this managed ID to actually do something with it. So actually we're not doing something. We just deploy this managed identity. In other words, we create a user in Azure using Bicep. This is a machine user, a system user. Okay, so we deploy it. And then in that same Bicep, we give it role access. So that is, now we leave out the introduction. So this is my problem here, down here. So what this says, a role assignment says, okay, first of all, you have to generate a GUID. This is very important. The name of the role assignment is not something that you just do something like my role assignment or whatever. So what it actually is, you use the GUID function of Bicep, which always takes an input, at least one. So in this case, you can have several of those. And what it does is like a hash of this input. You can think of it like a hash, but the hash is in the form of GUID, meaning if you give the GUID function in Bicep always the same input, it will result in the same GUID, which is very important, because if you deploy it the second, the third, and the fourth time, you always want Bicep to not regenerate a new role assignment, but to understand, hey, I already have this role assignment. This was already deployed, so that's it. By the way, this is one of the resources where when you deployed it once, you cannot change the properties because most of the properties are afterwards read-only. But this is another detail. It's not the point of this talk. So then, as I said, I want that the role assignment is performed on the group. And I show you in a second what I mean by that. And then I go to the properties and give him three things. First of all, the principal ID is simply the principal ID. Be very careful not to use this one here, not the ID, managed ID, and then we have something like ID. of the resource, because this is the resource ID. Because, as I said, this is an Bicep resource, an ARM resource that we deployed, and the ID is like the path, the unique path, including the subscription, to where this resource lives. This is not what this guy needs. It needs the principal ID, which is part of the properties of the top there created managed identity. And then you have not the client ID. This is what you have for running authentication flows against this. If you want to use login microsoftonline.com or stuff like that, this is what you need, the principal ID. Okay, fine. So it's easy to detect, it has to match. Then another one, I come to the role definition ID. Another one is the principal type, which is service principal. So there are several predefined types that you can look up. So you have user, it's not a user, it's not a security group or whatever, it's not a device, it's not a foreign group, it is a service principal, because that is what we created here. This is a service principal, technically. Hidden in a resource that we deployed to Azure, whatever. Now comes the point of this today's video, this one here. So what this is it says, okay, listen. Role definitions, and what I mean by that is those things like contributor, owner, reader, name it, inside of Azure resources. Be aware, Azure resources, not inside of Entra ID. So what we call this are RBAC roles. Let me type it here, RBAC roles. Role-based access control is the technology, how you control what can access stuff that you deployed to Azure. Whereas normal roles, this without RBAC in Azure, always refer to roles that you have in the directory. For instance, global administrator is a famous one, which you never should have constantly, by the way. But there is something like global reader, billing administrator, whatever. Stuff like that. Those are Entra roles. We are not referring to Entra roles. We're referring here to RBAC roles. So what we do, we want him to tell which role should this service principal have on that scope. So we do this by taking in a resource ID. Resource ID is a unique identifier of a resource, meaning it points to something in Azure. Okay, it points to a resource. It always has the same pattern. You go to, let me point out here, first of all, you define the resource type. So this is what we have in ARM. It's a role definition, and then this role definition has this ID. So you can take out, you see a lot of samples online with this. And you can take it out now, go to a browser, whatever, and paste this GUID in. It's globally unique. And this is German, but it gets translated into English. Provide access to Key Vault, you can find it here, and then you see here a list, Azure built-in roles for Key Vault data plane operations. So what this GUID stands for, this one, is Key Vault secrets user. This represents Key Vault secret user. No matter in which tenant, it's always this ID. Okay, it's globally unique. Every tenant has this, when this role assignment is meant, this role definition is meant in a role assignment, it always refer to this Key Vault secrets user. So that is what I'm heading for, but let's first execute this. So we can execute it in two ways. We can do, I prepped it. In that folder where we can use new AZ deployment. We need to give the deployment a name, a location, because a deployment, this command generates something which is a resource in Azure. Okay, so we generate something here. We have a template file, which is our main bicep. And then I use what if to simulate the thing, and then what if result format. To say, give us just the resource ID. It's a little trick to not have this chatty output that you might know, but a smaller output. Let's look into the resource groups. So what you see here, this is my subscription I'm using, and I filtered it for the word demo because this is, let me go back, what I said here in the resource group. Hey, name it demo in the resource group. Here, RG demo. This is why I'm filtering for that, so you don't get confused. So let me close everything and execute this command. Of course, I need to be my AC context needs to be the correct one. I need to be enabled. So let's see if this, is it doing something? It looks weird, to be honest. Did I misclick? Yeah, he's doing. Getting the latest of the resources. Here it is. Getting the latest status of resources. And now this is what, you know, in a naive fashion, because it really quickly, this cool feature breaks down in Bicep. I think I already talked about it. But anyways, this is, for this scenario, it's good. So you will create, this is create operations, a new resource group called demo, RG demo. And in that subscription, and he will go and add a user assigned identity and a role assignment, not necessarily in that order, but this is not our problem. So with that, let's do the last command and just remove all the what if and let him do his job. So let's see, it should not take too long. That's why I will not pause the video. And until this point, I just want to mention, I'm just showing you default stuff. It's just the preamble. I will put timelines in so that you guys can jump over stuff if you're interested in the real thing. Until this point, everything is good. And it's documented in that way. Also, if you go to Bicep repositories or whatever, you will find this a lot on GitHub. You will find this thing a lot. Like this ID is all over the place. Anyways, let's go and check if it worked. So as always, Azure is lying to me for a certain amount of time because the cache of the UI kicks in. Try again this window, do it. At some point in time, hopefully it comes because the deployment itself worked out and was succeeded. And we just need to be, I don't want to refresh the whole page because then my filter gets out of the way, but it works. So let's see. Okay, I probably need to refresh the page, whatever. Let's go for demo. So that you guys see, there it is. Anyways, here's my resource group. Here are the essentials. It's in that subscription. It has a purpose tag. I added this. You probably saw that. And here it deployed this managed identity. Not a big deal. It's just the identity. The interesting thing is here. So this thing points us to the currently valid access control for this resource group. For when I click on that. So you will see a lot of stuff. And let me check the access for the managed identity. I don't want to click on role assignment because that shows a lot of stuff that you should not see. Okay, so on that subscription, there's a user assigned managed identity too, actually, but we are interested in the CF sample thing because that's what we created with our Bicep. And this thing got keyword secrets user deployed on that thing. On that resource. So this is what we did. This is the role assignment showing it itself. So what we now could do in order to prove that this is working, we could go to that same web page and say, here's this crypto user thing. Let's see, is that really working? So let's do this, copy this out. Actually, this was dumb. Let me paste it here. Let us create a second one and let's call it role assignment 2, which is a bad name, I know, but it shows what we do. So we put that in, same managed identity, but different thing. So we just paste in this here. Basically what we say is, hey, listen, I want, let me zoom out a little bit. Now I want you to give the same managed identity, which already is there, not this role assignment, it stays there, this role assignment, but add another one to this role, whatever it means. And we know it's meaning keyword crypto user. So let's execute this deployment. I'm skipping what if here. This also should be pretty fast. Role assignments, managed identities are pretty easy to deploy. It's pretty fast. So it's not the usual big wait time. As you've already seen, the first command was already pretty quick and there you had to create the managed identity. What's a little bit sad about Bicep still is that Bicep is still obviously doing a lot of back and forth in order to determine what's already there and what's not. Or maybe ARM is doing it. To be honest, I don't know. So it succeeded. And let's now do it again for this. Is it? And here is it. We are now crypto user and secrets user. It instantly gets deployed. Okay. That's nice. So what does this talk about? Because this is not about this technology. The problem that I have with that is this. Those IDs suck. because you have now the option to either put commands everywhere and tell you what is this. You could do it this way. Number one is this is keyword secret, what's it, user. See, I already forgot it. Keyword secret user and so on. Another option obviously is to say var keyword secret user equals this thingy. This is better style. Should be that. And then let's say keyword secret, keywords crypto user, I think. I forgot. You know what I mean. Is now this with the one, this guy. Let's add this ID. So you could use some variables. And then the good thing is you can, instead of typing it all over again, you can do it this way. And now it's more telling, okay? Let's say it's more speaking of what it actually does, and you cannot mistype by any accident and so on. Not bad. Okay, cool. So it should work. And now we at least have a name for what this is. And it tells us the ID and everything is good. But here comes the problem. So now every time, and you do this a lot in your Bicep scripts, every time you want to do that, you repeat yourself. You have those variables in place. But wait a minute, we know that there's a better way now because we have module exports. So what does it mean? What we could do, we create a new file and say something like RBAC And with this in place, what we can do is we can write something like, listen, I have var RBAC equals, and then we can say something like this. Just simply paste this out. I think it is colon in that case, okay, and this one. So let's see, not bad. We just moved the variables in. So now what we need to do is we need to export this, and then var export, let me see, what am I missing, and I'm not sure, what did I do wrong? Is it add export? Yeah, so add export. So now what with add export, we give it the directive to say this variable here, where which I decorated with the export directive, it needs to be accessible from outside as well. Okay, cool. So we now can do, instead of this, which instantly makes it red, we can go and say import, we don't know yet, this is always what I do, and then you just reference this new file, and then you go in here, you could do star, but I don't like it, RBAC roles, and now what you can do is RBAC roles dot. Okay, RBAC roles dot all over the place. So basically, we just need to add RBAC roles dot, RBAC roles dot, RBAC roles dot. And now when we hover over it, it gives us the ID, everything is good, nice. Next level. So because in pretty much when we put this file now to a directory or there's even a way to put it on an Azure Container Registry as kind of your library, whatever it is, doesn't matter. So what it means is now we put this definition, which never changed because they're globally unique in Azure. We put those definitions for those IDs in a file, which can be accessed by many other Bicep scripts, as many as we want. And thus we do our thing. Okay, cool. Actually a cool trick. And actually what this is, I call it an enum because I'm a .NET developer and this is in fact the same as an enum. Well, enum is a bad example because it would be a number. It's more like a constant string that we reference across our project. So in order not to repeat ourselves and make problems if we mistype it or whatever. Cool. But here comes the point. Now, when I'm at this point in time, I already think of, so what do I do now? When I look up here in what is it? Azure. What is it? Role assignment, role IDs, pre-list, whatever. So built-in roles. Here you go. So there's an Azure article And you can see here how many roles there are. You can freak out here because there are a lot of roles, and I think this list is not even comprehensive. So what happens now? What do we do? So first idea today, we take ChatGPT, give him this, let him go through, extract all the values and build us what we need. I can tell you I did this, by the way. I can tell you it will start to fantasize about GeoIDs. I'm not sure about the current models, but it fantasized about certain IDs. So we all know that, but this is one of the examples where it kind of, I don't know why, but it starts to get lazy or what and not going to the end. I don't know. Anyways, he's making up stuff. So that's not a good idea. But wait a second. There's an even better way. And I will do this for you step by step. So what I will use is PowerShell for that, and you could use Python or whatever it is, because there's this simple thing, okay? So I prepped this already, but this is all around one single command, which is this command. Let me do it here. So if you type get az roleDefinitionFT, for instance, what you get is a big chunk, and you ask your Azure tenant to give you all the role names, the IDs, which are actually the IDs, actually what we said, and then description, ACR push, whatever. So that's interesting. This thing and this thing is actually what we need. So what I came up with is the following. Let's say I take this command. It's hard to read, I get that. But let's go through it. I populate a variable in PowerShell, I'm taking this command, I'm migrating the output by selecting the ID property, and then the name property, the expression, my new name property label here, will be the result of an expression, which is like, take the name and replace whatever it is, those characters, regex, with nothing. So why am I doing it? I can show you what happens when I don't have replace in place. Let me do this and just take, let's do it this way. Remove the spaces, which you can see here. Remove the spaces, and you will see in a minute why, from that thing. So because we have it, we can say this is our new property. Here we go. And let's execute this command. Let's try this out. F8 this. Null expressions. What happens? Get AZ. Can you do it for me? No. ID and then name. Should work. Oh, property. My bad. And this is now, I always do the same weird idiocy. I think it should be this now. Are you able to do this? Let's see. Just wanted you to show what is happening. Yeah, you can see it. And what you get, let me go up here. You get two things which are not nicely formatted, but anyways, you get the new element, which is ID, and then ACR push, blah, blah. But wait a minute, let's go down a little bit, and then you instantly will see what happens, because first of all, there are a lot of role definitions, and some of them maybe are outdated. I'm not even sure. But you will soon find some which have weird braces in the name, dashes in the name, and whatnot. There's a lot of stuff. I cannot, there it is. Here, built-in dash in role. So whoever named this should be punished hard, if you ask me, in Azure. Built dash in role. I love that. Of course not. So that's why I did all this Jumanji here. Let me go back, replace actually, and I did the regex replace, because all this is doing, if you look here, if I take this replace out and try it out. So when I give it a string, which is, let's say, hello-world, it will do it this way. So when I do hello-world seriously, so it will remove all those unwanted characters, braces, underscores, dashes, /, braces, as I said, dot, colon, everything I don't want to have, which is sadly part of the names is removed by this replace expression. And when I execute this command now, I get all of that in a variable definitions. Here you are. When I scroll a little bit up here, because I'm dumb and I'm not taking just the top of it, whatever, I get a nice PowerShell object array of ID and name, which I can reference. This is what I did. So this is already the hard work. So what next I can do, I can use something from the .NET world, because this is a lot of entries, and I will use something which is called a string builder. If you're not from .NET, the problem with things what I want to do here technically is I want to build up a big string, and you will see in a minute where this is leading. So if you do this in an iteration with a lot of steps in this iteration, and you constantly manipulate strings, which are reference types, which is bad, this will cost you a lot of memory. You shouldn't do that. Okay, so what I will do now is I will go through that. Let me paste it in. And then I will go, let me remove this for a second, because it will, or maybe not, because I want the spacer to be just a blank line. So what I want you to do is go take every element of this definition, however much there are, and then use the string builder append format, which is string format from .NET. Anyways, so search for the curly braces. Those are positional arguments. So whatever this thing will get replaced by this. And this thing will get replaced by the second thing, by the role name. So, okay. And this goes on and on. I just build up a string. And then at the end, what I can say is, you know what? Show me what you got. This is the thing. Okay, let's save this and let's call create ps1. So what happens is, this is what we get. And it's hard to see currently, because this is just the space in front, the 4 characters there. And then it says ACR push colon, and then this. API management colon, and then this. And I think I should remove this. This was an idea that I had. Not good. Let's create it newly. So now we have it here. Okay, cool. Now, the next thing is that I do this and tell them, you know what? Write it to RBAC_roleDefinitions. Okay, so when I do this, instantly my RBAC_roleDefinitions gets red. Why is that? So it looks not bad, it's totally red, but I forgot to have all this export thing in and whatnot. Okay, I don't freak out. So the first thing is I need a prefix variable, which like this, it's not the best way to do it, but what you can do is you just have a multi-line string in PowerShell with this syntax, and then you can just write what you want, and this is basically our preamble. And I think what we can do is we can give this the prefix. So let's see how it looks. So we just say, hey, create this .NET type string builder, and normally in .NET you would do it this way. Let me show you. var sb in C# is new string builder, or actually system text is the namespace. Let's do it correctly. String builder, and then you can give it initial value. Okay, and then after that you can say append something in .NET. That would be .NET append another thing, and then I don't know, return sb to string. So that is then the result, taking this, adding this, this, and that, and then you get the string. This is what you do in .NET, and this is what we are using here in PowerShell, because PowerShell at the end is written in .NET. So anyway, so this is how I call the constructor, I think. And now let's save this and call the create again. Let's see what we have. Okay, it's looking better now. So we have this export, and then you see here he's initially doing it. Okay, there's probably a line break missing. That's what's missing. So what we can do is we can give it, let me see, we can add something like this here. Is that working? I'm always unsure, to be honest. because it's not the best way to do it. Yeah, it's better now. Now we put an enter in, so we start at the next line. Cool. And now the final missing piece is in the end, there's a red one because we miss an additional curly brace. So what we can say is after this append a curly brace to that. And now when we do it, create piece one. So we have not what we wanted. What did I do wrong? Oh, $SB append. It's, you know, looks good. Min capacity, max capacity, interesting. Yes, because I need to call it void. Problem that PowerShell has, when you have a method that actually returns nothing, he always tries to write something out. And if you type those void there, you tell him this method actually is void, it does nothing. So now this thing is green. Now look what I also did. I added a description because I'm a nice guy, including a link. So I built that, and then what I can do in my resources, I can say, listen, this is Azure built-in RBAC role IDs. It's actually better than what I did before. So now I can take this variable and I can say, what is that? Crypto, and I can do this very easily. Here we go. And by the way, this is not crypto. This is keyword secrets user. See how I'm already mistyped it. So here we go. And then what is that? RBAC roles. Did I do? Yeah, built-in keyword crypto user. Here we go. And it's easily usable. All you need to do is the import. And you have all the roles that possibly can exist. Let's see if it still works and if it has the same IDs first. So when we look up here, keyword secret user is 4633. It should be the same that we had before. And this is 1233. It's also the same. So this is pointing to the same ones. Let's execute our deploy script again. And of course, let's do deploy dot, where am I? New AZ deployment. There it is. My history is here. Let's do it again to see if we broke nothing. But now what we have is, we have this generated file. This file is not typed by anybody, but it actually is generated. Plus, we can at any point in time, because there are new roles are coming in all the time. At any point in time, we could regenerate this file. So old roles are removed, which could be dangerous, be aware. But in principle, here we go. Let's check this again. Let's check this user. It should have the same one, which is nice. Maybe we add another one. What do you think? So let's go just to see if it works, right? Let's go to the resources, role assignment free. Shouldn't be a big deal. Let's go. Role assignment free is, what do we do? Reader. So let's give him reader role assignment on the resource group. Let's do that. Role assignment free, and it also should work. So now, as I said, we can always regenerate this file using the PowerShell. The PowerShell itself needs to live somewhere, I know. But this is far better than what I have seen in so many examples and whatever. Here, he's reader now. Everything is good. So if you look up this code now, tell me what you want, but this is, if we look up here, the role assignments, okay, you import them from this RBAC roleDefinitions, which in turn gets generated by the script. Then you go here and you look up, is this exactly what I want? We named it kind of okay. So there might be even sophisticated script. The next iteration is we could go here, and before we do that, I think there's something like what is that? Order, sort, object, property, name. What now? Is that because it's not sorted, right? So let's look. This is ACR. It's kind of A, B, whatever. Let's see if it changes. If I just execute this create again, yeah, the script slightly changed the order of things, and now we have it alphabetically sorted for whatever reason, because nobody's scrolling through that. And final thing is that he might write host, write debug. Let's do write debug, always better. Found, I don't know, what is this? Definitions, length. Is there length? Okay, measure object, definitions count. What is definitions, by the way? Okay, let's do the correct thing. So we will do definitions, measure object, put that in braces, and get the length. I'm always too lazy. Count. This should work. Role assignments. So let's do the create with, can I do debug? I'm not sure. No, it's not doing it. Write host, because I don't have, anyways. Never mind. Don't listen to me, guys. So 801 role assignments, there you have it. This is what it is. And I could have also counted the rows and the lines in the file. So this is what I wanted to share today with you. I think I will put this in a link in the video description. Maybe I format it a little bit better, and then I will do a gist of that, and you can download it, and then you just, probably I will give you a parameter to say, hey, where's the out file, where do I write it, whatever. I will give you that so that you guys can try it out for yourself. Hope this is helpful. See you next time.